Welcome back to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We're going to break down everything you need to know from the preseason game coming to you from the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio out here in Irvine, California. And we're going to talk about everything that happened in that game, where things stand, where the team goes from here, what are the worry spots, what are the bright spots, and so much more. So stick with us for all of that on today's show. But before we get into the show, make sure you sign up for NewOrleans.Football. Visit the site, use the code CAMP24. You will save 20% on your first payment. That's $9 a month, taken down to $7.20 in that first month. I promise you it is more than worth it. You get all of our news, our analysis, the live viewings of this podcast, the in-game blogs that we're now doing. And once the regular season starts, you will get the pregame show and the postgame show. The pregame show will be only 4 people on the site. Postgame show will go out for you guys immediately after the game. Everybody else has to wait till Monday. So make sure you sign up, use that code CAMP24. 20% off, the best value that you can find if you are not at one of Matt Bauer's auto dealerships. So he'll get you a better value than that on your next car. So make sure you go check him out at one of his many locations throughout the Gulf Coast region. Great prices, great customer care, a great car buying experience. You know where else you'll have a great experience? All of these great sponsors that sponsor us go out. They do the best that they do at what they do. They support us, so make sure you support them. Here's a quick word from them, and we will be right back. Ochsner Health inspires healthier lives and stronger communities through a combination of standard-setting expertise, quality, and connection not found anywhere else in the region. To learn more about how Ochsner empowers people to get well and stay well, visit ochsner.org. Long live you. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
Choose your lucky symbol. Play beginner's luck. Win up to $5,000. Let's Taco Bout Bingo. Play Taco Bout Bingo. Win up to $50,000. Looking to triple your cash? Play 77777. Top prize of $177,777. Play the new August games from the lottery.
Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Welcome into the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio. It is time for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. I'm Brandon Thomas, joined by Nick Underhill and Mike Triplett. We're going to get into our first segment brought to you by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Now that we've had time to kind of digest the game, see the ins and outs of what's happening, you had a great film breakdown that you put on the website. Kind of what did we notice? Where are they still struggling at? Where are they winning at? And who could have been better?
Well, let's start at the top of it. Who could have been better? I mean, I think obviously it starts with the offensive line. And I think that there were 3 spots that are questionable. Fuaga, Lucas Patrick, Trevor Penning. I thought Fuaga passed for the most part.
Yep.
There was a player or two that I think he probably could have been a little bit better on. But overall, I think it was a good day for him, a good exposure. I think you leave that feeling optimistic about him. You assume that over the next 3 weeks before the season opener that he's going to continue to get better, continue to improve it, and you're probably going to be in a good place at that spot. I don't feel good about Lucas Patrick. I thought it was a shaky performance for him. And then you get to Trevor Penning, and I'm worried. Like, I don't, based on what we saw in that game, if it doesn't change over the next several weeks, and all the caveats, first game at right tackle, new position, all that stuff, maybe he fixes it. But we saw last season, we saw this game, there was an offseason of concern. If this was the last game of the season, we'd be sitting here saying, like, they got to do something. They can't play him at that spot. What we saw there is not playable in a game right now. That is a red alarm situation to me now. Like, and it has to rapidly get better and improve, or they're gonna have to go another direction with it. But you can't put someone out there the way he played. He'll get 2 more shots at it. I assume they'll let it go all the way through the preseason, at least again this week. But that's something that is needing drastic improvement is really the only way to word it. It is an alarming situation.
Yeah. And I say left guard's just as alarming. I mean, I almost thought he was worse in that game, in those 9 snaps. I guess they both played about 25 snaps, including penalties, because Patrick then moved over to center. But I'm equally worried about both spots. They don't seem to have a solution at either spot, and I don't love their backup options. I know you said you liked a little of what Oli Udoh did, but he has looked like a guy who's had a year off of football in camp. So I don't want him starting. I want him being a only if necessary backup for the Saints. But yeah, like this is a funny game because there's a lot of good things, and we're going to get to the good things. Defense was great. Spencer Rattler is, he created a mania with how he played, and Jake Haener played just as good. But everything we've wanted to know about this team entering free agency, entering the first day of OTAs, entering the first day of training camp is how's the new offense going to look? And how bad is the offensive line going to hold them back? So for 9 snaps or so, that's all we were looking at. I would say the most encouraging part of it is, yeah, we knew Trevor Penning and the left guard spot were going to be question marks. But the most discouraging thing is, I think we were kind of hoping the new offense could scheme around them and mask them and hide them, and they wouldn't matter. Like, oh, those guys might stink, but it's not going to slow our offense down because we've got a really good offense. And we didn't get to see that. Now, there's a number of reasons why. Vanilla, no game planning, no showing all the tricks or whatever. But I don't think we wanted it to look that clunky. I mean, there was a complete blown assignment on nobody was blocked on that Alvin Kamara 2-yard run loss. The screen pass, that was either bad blocking by Fuaga, bad decision by Carr. I don't know what it was, but it was their second play of the game, and it was a total, like, what was that? You guys had time to think about this, and you chose to do that. They got batted down. There were some offensive linemen missing exchanges with each other, including one with McCoy and Patrick, one with Ruiz and Penning. Like I wanted to see that we weren't going to be thinking, oh my God, it's a red alarm with Lucas Patrick and Trevor Penning, and instead they made it look like we can't scheme our way around these guys. It's only 9 plays. We've seen a lot more in practice that makes us feel good about it, but that did nothing to ease anyone's worries. That's the problem.
Not good about the offense as a whole, not good about Trevor Penning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we've seen in camp, this offense can function despite our concerns. In the game, we did not see the offense functioning despite
Sometimes though. I mean,
a couple plays that almost worked.
There's been series in practice where they run 9 plays and Penning's given up 3 sacks out of 9. I mean, it feels like he can function because Derek Carr's still throwing the ball.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
We've seen that in camp that the offense can still function.
No.
But in the game, we did.
What I'm saying though is that there's been periods where it's 9 snaps and Penning's given up 3 sacks, and it feels like he can function because they don't whistle the play dead and Derek's still throwing the ball. But if you were stopping every play and losing 7 yards on every single one of those,
if it was turning into 2nd and 12 and 3rd and 18,
it would look different. It would stand out more. But like, it's kind of like, was he there? Like, okay, that's a sack, but like the pass still goes off, so it doesn't feel as broken. But I think there's been times where I've done my notes and it's like, they gave up this many pressures on this many plays, and like maybe it's a sack, maybe it's not. Like, you don't know, but like it's too affected at times. But there's days where it is good too. We have seen good too, but it's been probably way too inconsistent. On Oli Udoh, like I think on that, like within the context of the offense and the options, like the options, I like him. He went out there, he played, 15 pass blocking snaps, didn't allow a pressure. That was good. He was decent in run blocking. He had the 2 penalties, but he looked like somebody that you could, worst case scenario, if you put out there, like you could maybe possibly try to scrap by with him, but I don't like any of the options. I don't like any of the options. I don't like what they have at the top.
Hasn't had a strong camp, and he did not have a strong game either.
Yeah. So it's rough right now.
You're right about that. Why? I think this is a lesson that we talked about, that we learned from last summer too. Why do we hear that they look so good in camp and then we don't see it? And I think that was one of the things that I kind of realized. It's because when they have a bad play, it doesn't become 2nd and 11. And then when they have a sack or a holding penalty, it doesn't become 3rd and 18. We don't watch them practice 3rd and 18 ever. And then they get out in a game and it's 3rd and 18. That's what happened in the regular season last year, and now that's what happened in this
the only time is like during a 2-minute drill, or they once in a while they'll simulate a drive down the field, and the yardage actually becomes a thing. But yeah, like if they're working 2nd and 8 and it gets sacked, they're just running 2nd and 8 again. It isn't, you aren't going into your bag and it's like, well, now they're going to defend different. They're going to line up different. You're going to see 3rd and 15 or whatever, and they're going to try to make a successful play. Like it just doesn't kind of happen like that. So yeah, that is something. I'm not totally discouraged by the offense. Like I still think there's a version of the offense that works. I still think that there's a lot of stuff they're going to do to take, hide. They can hide stuff. You can do your play actions. You can use more of your emotions. All that stuff's going to help. Situationally, like some things are going to be a little bit different, but I do not like the fact that you go out there and you say, hey, line them up, make a play, and they really couldn't make a play. And they called some stuff that worked. Like if Penning can block a little bit better, that's a touchdown to Olave.
Can you imagine if I mentioned this with Kevin on the pod, even though they struggled, if Penning holds that block, or I don't know if Ruiz is supposed to help, but if they throw a 53-yard touchdown to Olave, call it a night, and the offense played 7 snaps, and they including a 53-yard touchdown, would we consider it a positive night? That one play makes all the difference, right?
You look at it like Hayner's saying, like he had a couple bad drives. He hits he has a good drive. He hits the pass down the field, and it kind of feels like a successful day for him. Like Spencer Rattler didn't really, do a ton of stuff like that was down the field. Yeah, resonate. but he has the PI that he put the ball right on AT's hand, and it's a great play, and it kind of makes you feel good about the things you've seen within it. Like the offense, no. And there was that one, and then there was a screen to Alvin that was like blocked perfectly, and then it just to the outside, but they didn't block perfectly at the line. The guy gets through and it breaks up the play. Like if they get that pass off, that's probably at least a first down on that play, if not longer. And there were a couple of things out there where I felt like they called decent plays that should have worked and they couldn't execute them. But you're absolutely right. Like if he hits that pass, people are like, all right, that was fine. Like it's at least not this. But like here's the thing about Penning though. It's not even just the plays where he clearly did something where it affected the play. It's the plays where he maybe didn't show up in that way, but like still go watch him. Like he's getting bowled back on some plays.
First play of the game. Alvin gains 5 yards, might have been a 20-yard run.
He didn't seal the edge. Yeah, they got 5 yards. Alvin, like if he seals that edge a little bit stronger, like there's a cutback lane to the inside. There's plays where Derek's getting the pass off and like Penning's getting kind of bowled back into him. Yeah, in the context of that specific play, it worked. But like when you see a guy getting kind of blown back 3-4 times in a handful of snaps, it's kind of like, what's this going to look like over 40? Like, okay, it's fine here on these ones, but like this is not fine overall. Like this is a problem right here. I am significantly worried. I kind of thought there was a path to like, this dude is he's big, he's strong, new coaching staff, new offense, new start, new position. Like there has to be a way to get a first round offensive lineman with that skill, that size, that athletic profile to just being okay. We aren't talking about thriving. We aren't talking about Pro Bowler. We aren't talking about earning second contract. We're talking about like going out in the street with a bag of asphalt and just smoothing it over so you aren't hitting the pothole. And like someone might drive over it too soon and it might dip down.
You can drive over gravel too. I'll take gravel.
Yeah. The asphalt doesn't even have to maintain its integrity. Just fill it up enough so like you aren't hitting it and breaking an axle. And that's all they needed them to do. And like it feels like a broken axle right now. It really does.
Man, I can't put it any better than that. There's no more to put on that. Even Foster Moreau yesterday, he talked about, you mentioned it was vanilla play calling out there, such a limited sample size. He was like, there's a lot of things that we can just clean up in general. We were making mental errors going out there, but that analysis of Penning, man, you might have to get a little award for that one. No, that was hard. That was hard.
If I had to pick the one most positive thing about this new offense, so it's the very first series, right? Mm-hmm. First play of the game, even though Penning did not seal that block very good, it was still a 5-yard run.
Yeah.
And then that meant that they could throw incomplete on second down on the batted pass and still have a 3rd and 5 and hit Chris Olave and move the chains. Then Rattler's touchdown run, it was 2nd and goal from the 10, and they run 6 yards. So now it's 3rd and 4, and Rattler's able to score a touchdown. Like, that is one element of the offense we heard we were going to see that we did see. Like, in those two cases, they gave themselves efficient, favorable situations and took advantage of them. So I'd like to see a lot more than that, too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't feel this is what the offense is, what it's going to look like. It's first
but
game.
That was a conceptual thing, like where they were like, let's make it 3rd and 4, let's make it 3rd and 5.
Yeah, and I think,
please.
But I think overall, like, they'll be able to move the ball. Like, I think they'll be able to move the ball at some point. You do have to figure out that tackle situation, but I think everything else that kind of looked a little bit broken. Like, I think it's going to get tightened up. It's going to look okay. People aren't going to want to hear it, so they'll just have to see it in a game. I got to see it in games too, though. But like, I do think that what we have seen in these practices is much better than what we saw in that game, just in an overall operational standpoint. Now, like, the plays that are getting blown up by the tackle, like, that's separate. But like, on the plays where it wasn't getting blown up by the tackle and they still couldn't do some stuff, I'm not super worried about it. Like, I think there's a path to average at least. Like, I think they'll be okay on that side of the ball. But the tackle thing, I don't know. Like, and I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if they need to start looking at free agents. I don't know if the options in-house, like, I'm not blown away by anybody. Like I said, I think Udo could probably possibly do it, but it's a huge issue.
I was going to save it for a little later, but since you kind of hinted at it right now, like, what are the options should they continue to pursue Justin Simmons, or do they need to go find a tackle?
I mean, you could still do both. If they get Justin Simmons, it'll be because he came at an affordable price. They're not going to overpay for him. But there is no Justin Simmons offensive tackle out there. There hasn't been since April. There hasn't been since, like, we've looked at that list. We've poured over that list. Mm-hmm. We've squinted at it. I think you have to trade for somebody who's got an extra body in camp, and at this time of year, you might have to overpay. Maybe somebody gets cut that is a Oliudo, James Hurst, Lucas Patrick level player, and they're better than those guys. Yeah. But that's Scotch tape. That's not. There's no Gorilla Tape out there right now. I'm trying to do my Nick analogy thing. There's only Scotch tape out there right now.
Yeah. Well, you hinted at it in the first segment. Let's go on to the next segment presented by Shawbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Look, the talk of the town. Yeah. Coming out of Saturday night, Spencer Rattler, his first drive leads to a touchdown, to the point where, they called it a non-touchdown at first, then they challenged it, and it ended up getting overturned and turned into a touchdown. Kind of, what did we see from him that we liked? Is the hype a little too much? Should we temper expectations a little bit? And kind of, has he widened the gap between him and Jake Haener?
Well, are we wrong? Did we get this lead backwards? Like, I mean, I think I was so focused on going into this game, I need to see what the offense looks like, the starting offense looks like, and I need to see what Penning and Patrick and Fuaga look like, that, I don't know if it's confirmation bias or what it is, but I was like, well, that's all that matters, and Spencer Rattler doing whatever he did in the third quarter with the backups. Like, I was like, oh, that's nice to see him making plays. But, Twitter and even going on the pod with Kevin after, I mean, it felt like this was the Spencer Rattler event, and everything else that happened was like the pre-show performers or whatever. I don't know if we're wrong on that. I mean, I was impressed. He continued to impress like he has all summer, but I mean, I don't know that he exceeded or underwhelmed or anything by expectations. I was like, yeah, this is promising. This is really good. Like, I'm really excited about it. I think they hit on one in the 5th round, and people need hope on this team. The first half did not provide any hope. People need excitement. The same old boring team hasn't provided any excitement. So I totally get it, but I have stopped short of believing that, now he might start at quarterback. I don't know. Maybe, are we supposed to be here to pull the back on the reins, or should we let people have excitement? Because there was one thing in this game that excited people.
What did the tape tell you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's somebody with upside. obviously, I think he's somebody that can be really good, and we've seen it in a lot of practices. There's been a lot of good drives. I'm excited about his ability to develop. I think that some of the commentary online is like a little bit, I think people are.
They need hope, man. They need hope.
Yeah, they do. And look, I mean, like, I don't see any scenario where he's starting games this year, barring disaster. Like he's not going to beat out Carr. Like that's just not.
Or injury, disaster or injury.
Yeah. That's just not going to happen. Like he's not going to. It's not going to be week 4, and they're going to be like, well, like Spencer's out playing. I'm like, that's not how it's not how it's gone, and it's not how it's looked. Like I think maybe a year from now, you give me a year to develop. Like I think there is a scenario. I'm not saying it's gonna manifest, but I think there is definitely a scenario with this player, his skill set, and his ability to continually improve that. Like next year at camp, maybe he is good enough to try to compete, especially if things don't work as hoped this year. I think maybe that door's even more open for that. But I think right now it's pretty. I think Derek's just ahead of him, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I think that the best thing for Spencer Rattler is like it would be good if he wins the backup job because it means he's getting more reps during the season of practice and just throwing the ball, getting timing down, working on different things. That's probably the best thing for him. Being the third string guy, like those reps don't really come, so it's better if he's second string. So. But I think just having a year to go away, just practice, work on your craft, get better, come back, and you're the best version of yourself when you go out there and you aren't trying to make corrections while struggling through them or whatever. I think that's probably the best thing. That's probably the best thing for him right now if he's not in a position to go out and kind of have immediate success. Like, and I think he probably could go out and do some things. Like if Derek got hurt, like I don't know that I would be super frightened. Like I think there's probably a way to have some success, but like I just think I think he's in a great situation, and if he is the heir apparent, and we have no idea if he is or isn't, it's way too soon to crown him or anything like that. But if he is, like you're talking about a long road. Like it's a long road that doesn't have to happen today. Like he's here, he's under contract, he's not going anywhere. But I'm excited about what he did in this game. I'm excited to see what he does in the other two, though. Like I think you need to keep seeing it, and as good as, I think he did some things really well in this game, but I think there was some obvious things that could get better. We've seen him correct those things quickly every single time. You don't see Spencer like making the same mistakes in practice. That's one of the things I like most about him. So I want to see if he can build on it. And again, I know everyone's like super excited, but I think there was a lot that he could build on, and I want to see him keep. I want to see him keep getting better. But look, I also think Jake Haener played great. Yeah. I think Jake Haener's been great this whole camp. The difference between the two. Well, I think they aren't like super far apart right now. I think that, and this is no disrespect to Jake, we're talking about a guy that was like the number 1 recruit in the world at one point. Like I think you see like Haener's ceiling, and I think you don't see Spencer's ceiling, and that's the difference between the two guys for me. So I think like that's why we talk about Spencer a lot more than Haener. But like Haener's been great. I think Haener's somebody that has just like answered every single call. Everybody's constantly trying to bury him, and like he's still there. Like I like the way he plays the game.
No, I agree. I mean, I like the quarterbacks. I like the trio that they have in camp. And look, I totally get it. If I was a fan, if I'm a fan of the Cubs, they've been boring for years. Like I'd be like, bring up Pete Crow Armstrong. Give me something new to look. I totally get it. But I mean, just realistically, if they're going to give Clint Kubiak's offense a chance to work, they're going to go with the veteran starting quarterback that they helped implement some of this offense by talking with him back in February and March, practicing it all off season. Like if this offense is going to have a chance to work, that's who they're going to go with. Like that. You don't just suddenly be like, no, actually let's throw Willie Beeman in there and just see if we can jazz things up. If it gets to that point though, like one day in the future that we find out this isn't going to work, it's cool that they have a back pocket option, and it's okay to be excited about that. You don't have to be in one camp or the other. You can be hopeful that Kubiak and Carr make it work and excited that Rattler might be something down the road. But back to you doing a detail.
Hold up, I will say this. I will say this though. Like every single time, logically, intellectually, everything, like I know what direction it's going, I know what direction it should go. But like on the excitement level that I think the fans feel, like when I'm out here watching them at practice every day, like there is kind of like
It's the most exciting part of practice.
it's the most,
yeah.
it's the most exciting part of practice. And then, but the thought in my head is like, I wonder what it would look like. Like, I wonder what he could do.
Of course.
Like, I wonder what he could do. Like,
I spent 3 years thinking that every time I watched Taysom Hill play quarterback too.
like intellectually, just or out of the sense of curiosity and all that stuff, like, like
it excites the football fan in you. You want to see.
I want to know what he
can
could do.
Of course.
Yeah, and like, would it be more fun? Like, I don't know, but like for 2 weeks it would be like.
Facts.
And if it ends up being good, like it's way more. Like,
facts.
Like if you have the next quarterback in the building, that's an incredibly exciting thing. I don't know that you can answer that question yet.
Right.
And,
no question.
Is game-winning drive, good throw to A.T. Perry, runs in the touchdown. Like, those are good things, but I don't think that said like, oh, this is the guy. Like, maybe he does it against San Francisco. Like, maybe he raises that bar a little bit. I think there's still room to go on it, but I am eager to see what he can do long term. And while I don't know, like, I don't think anybody can know yet, I am optimistic though about what he can become. Like, I think there's a chance that Spencer Rattler could become a starter in the NFL.
And look, we see it all the time. Like, when Kevin and I were talking, I was like, who did Jalen Hurts actually take over for at the time he took over? I don't even remember.
Was it Wentz?
Yeah, like, I don't even remember. But it was the right choice. And people probably would have said, well, they're probably not going to go to Jalen Hurts yet. When they did, it was the right choice. I mean, Mahomes, Alex Smith was an obvious choice. I mean, Will Levis over Ryan Tannehill was an obvious choice last year. Justin Fields, when he finally got started. Like, I get it. You think someone's not ready until you just say, let's throw him in the fire. It's just the only part of this argument is we haven't reached the point of quitting on Derek Carr yet. Like, that's the part that is way too premature here. Is they've invested a lot in him and they've built an offense that should work for him. Yeah. We need to see that fail before we start saying try the more exciting but wild option.
No doubt about that. There's that, and then there's B that I don't know that it's built well enough to even help elevate a young quarterback trying to succeed right now. Like, I don't want him back there with the side of the line that can't block. Yeah, like, exactly. Like, I don't want to see that right now. I mean, he doesn't have the seasoning to kind of protect himself yet, and he might, but like, I don't know why. Like, why make him do it if it's just get him in a better situation to kind of, if you're gonna do that, like, get him the help he kind of needs around him.
Very quickly after studying the film, though, Rattler specific. Let's say they had a placeholder. Let's say they had Jacoby Brissett going against Drake May or Jared Stidham versus Bo Nix, and you're just waiting to see when the rookie is ready. What, from your film study and from watching Rattler in practice, what's the next step he needs to take to make it look like he's more ready?
I think just a couple of little ball placement things, really. Like, there was a throw to Holker that was a little bit behind him. In the film study, I pointed out a throw that man, it ended up being 29 yards, like, from the point of where he threw it to where it went on the field through the air, 1.1 seconds. Like, that is a dart. And, like, it beat the defender, went right over him. But, like, if he would have put it out a little bit further, like, Stanley Morgan has a completion and off he goes. Like, I think it's just a couple little timing things. And, I think a great example is the doling back shoulder throws. Yeah. Like so he threw one, I think it was to the 21, and Nacua kind of had to like turn, try to get it low, and then they had a penalty on the next play. They ran the same, it wasn't the same play, but the same concept on that side of the field, same back shoulder throw, same place on the field. He throws it 1 yard further up the field and it's completed. And that's what I'm talking about, like him not repeating mistakes. Like, if he can just kind of take that and on a macro level and just kind of clean up all the little things, because like it isn't that far off. It's just a tick here, a tick there, a tick there. Like, that's the next step. It's just kind of having, and I think the thing that kind of stood out there was just like some of that little ball placement stuff was really.
I wouldn't even call that a mistake. This is fascinating for football in general. Go look at Nick's film study, has the pictures of those two throws back to back. My gut watching at home, not knowing the plays, not knowing what they practice, not knowing positions on the field they're supposed to be on. I blame Nacua for the first one. I'm like, oh, come on, that's a back shoulder throw. Why didn't you separate sooner? And it would have been easy. And then Rattler throws the exact same throw, two snaps later, one play later, a yard further, and all Nacua has to do is like this, and the ball's in his chest. And I'm like, oh. So it's not always just blame the receiver because he could have caught it. It's like, that would have been way easier if the quarterback just stuck it into his numbers. And you learn so much about what we don't know by watching those two plays in a row. And it's like, yeah, you could blame the receiver for the first one until you see what happens when the ball was placed perfectly and the receiver didn't have to separate and get a yard behind. It was amazing how much better they did. But it's not just correcting mistakes, it's also learning how you can do it better, and boy, he showed he could do that 2 snaps in a row. That was pretty cool.
I mean, that's what we've seen all through camp. Like, his growth has been so rapid because of it. Like, that's the thing. As far as like the game globally, like I feel like kind of everything we thought was going to happen happened, except for like they stunk to start the game. Like that was it. Everything else, so like I think Rattler was kind of who we saw, like somebody with a ton of talent with a little bit of inconsistencies. Hayner's somebody that's just like his back was against the wall and he found a way to get out of it after a rough start to the game. That's kind of exactly who we've seen. It's just that first team offense just kind of needs to click a little bit better.
Yep, and this is why we keep bringing up and why they keep bringing up how vanilla and how there's no game planning is. As we've said, we keep hoping they can scheme their way out of all their deficiencies. And they kept telling us, well, you're not going to see us do that in this game. This game is not going to be us scheming our way around anything. This game is going to be basic. And so when we saw basic, we were disappointed, So
I would say,
it's tough. It's tough. We still need to see it.
I will say, though, like my hope level on the, like, we can mask all this. Boy,
yeah.
I don't, like, I'm lower on it. Yeah. I'm lower on on some of that stuff. I think I don't know how you had the tackle. Like I just don't. Yeah. You can play action all you want to slow down the front, but at some point, like they're coming at him, and he gets beat by speed. He gets beat by power. So I don't know.
You can't put a fixer flat on a tire where the sidewall is completely blown out.
There you go.
It just. Yep. It can't happen.
Right.
It can't happen. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you for throwing Willie Beeman in there. That's one of my all-time fictional goats.
Look, if I'm going to come here and try to tell fans you shouldn't want Willie Beeman taking over for Dennis Quaid, was it Cap Rooney?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I got to leave this business if I tell people, no, you got to want to stick with Cap Rooney.
Yeah.
Do we think, like, how do we think Willie did? And where did he go? New Mexico after the Sharks? Him and Pacino.
Whose career did he have? Cordell Stewart's career, Lamar Jackson's career.
Let me go.
Tim Tebow's career.
Nah.
Yeah, he went to the New Mexico Aztecs in that movie. Do we think Willie had?
Well, as long as he was.
We'll find out if Justin Fields beats out Russell Wilson, then he did.
I think he went on to have some success, man. Shout out Willie, man.
All right.
But. We learned some things yesterday at practice. They had a practice, kind of like a walkthrough, but they got some good work in out there. This is going to our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Rattler, for all the good he did Saturday, he was out with a thigh bruise. DA said he wanted to come back, but precautionary, they kept him out. Also, the joint practices with the San Francisco 49ers. You shaking your head already.
It's the biggest buzzkill of a week full of buzzkills, man.
Yeah, it was something that, we all were looking forward to covering because that was going to be like spectacular work between a team who just went to the Super Bowl and a team that has their offensive coordinator from last year and building a new offensive identity and things like that. So kind of where is it with that, and can they get actual good working against themselves?
I was promised Clint Kubiak's offense. I didn't get to see that. I was promised Justin Simmons. I didn't get to see that. I was promised the 49ers. I didn't get to see that. This week sucks, man.
Hey, man.
It sucks. This was the highlight of this camp. We were going to learn a lot about the team. That's so much better than a preseason game because you run 10 snaps each side in the red zone. You run 10 snaps each side in the 2-minute. You run 10 snaps. They go one-on-ones against you. Mm-hmm. Like, you get every situation you could want against another team, and this is like the other team, except for maybe Kansas City. So it sucks. I mean, I understand why it happened if the Niners felt that way. But, we especially we needed to learn more about the Saints after not seeing a lot in a small sample size. So the Saints, it's not going to kill the Saints. I bet they end up playing their starters in the game now, and I bet they wouldn't have otherwise. But that'll still be a smaller sample size than what they would have gotten in camp. I think the Saints needed this work. I'm not going to change my record prediction. It's not going to kill this team or anything, but I call it a disappointment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I do think that in this setting too, like again, that there'd be no fans, no scouts, no cameras, no anything. Like I think we probably would have seen them run all their stuff on offense, and you'd really kind of know against another opponent. Now, like granted, the 49ers know most of the stuff too, so I don't think it's like you're trying out your offense on someone that doesn't know what you're doing. Like you're gonna kind of, in some sense, be watching yourself on the other side. But we would have been able to see how they operate it if they do play in this game. Like I think they're gonna take the same approach. Like I think there's gonna be like some, just, hey, go out here, roll out, try to do some things, don't show too much. And that's kind of what they're going to do with it. So, yeah, that would have been good. And then the other thing, too, I think on a bigger sense is that I think at the end of this week, there's probably no doubt about what your line is. And I think now you go into this game, you go into the next game, and maybe you aren't sure. Maybe there's an uptick this week, and then next week, who knows? But, I think if you went through this, you're going to see 2 practices, probably 60 snaps of starting offensive line, and there's no doubt. And now there's, 20 more Penning snaps maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's the greatest situation in the world just from a, finding out aspect. Yeah. So I think it does set him back a little bit.
I agree.
Man, I was waiting to see the big on bigs, man. Like you just said, I was waiting to see Bosa go up against Penning or Fuaga and see Granderson and Chase Young go against Trent Williams. See what they could do against Fred Warner. I think he was out with some foot thing, but I think he should have been back for this set. See what the DB room looks like against people like Deebo Samuel, things like that. Christian McCaffrey. I was waiting to see all of that. Now I got to wait till Sunday in the morning.
McCaffrey's hurt too, yeah. Maybe we're figuring out why they didn't come.
in a more kind of subdued package, but that's what it is. Yep. Well, that'll do it for this opening segment of NewOrleans.Football. Stick around, check out our sponsors, because when we come back, we'll continue to analyze preseason game 1 and look ahead to this week.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Shrimp Remoulade combos are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Zesty shrimp remoulade served with fried shrimp, catfish, or soft-shell crab starting at $10.99. Or try one of our spring specials, catfish Lafitte or lemon caper fish with crab meat. Now at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome back to the Oshner Health Podcast Studio here in Irvine, California. Thanks for rocking with us after that first segment, but now it's time for the next segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Look, we kind of talked heavily about the offense in the first half. Now let's go to the defense, who showed really good stuff in that game. Kind of who stood out between the starters in the second and third units.
I'll let you get first pick.
Were you talking to B?
No, hit it.
I'm going to go Willie Gay. And I don't know if I'm going to take the whole linebacker position as a whole, but all that linebacker depth that we've been talking about, that did translate into the first preseason game. Willie Gay was making plays all over the field. Did he have like 5 tackles? He had the 4th and 1 stop in the open field. He had a tackle for loss. It looks sweet. But he popped. He flashed. Like, the speed is there. Maybe he'll miss sometimes running like that all over the field, but he wasn't missing in this game. And then we saw a couple more. I kind of liked Kalika Hudson of the backups, but they all take turns making plays each game. It's a position, the depth we feel a lot better about than we did before.
I'm gonna go like way off script here, like way down into.
You know Rico Payton?
Rico Payton. Rico
on my
Payton.
list, man.
No doubt about it. Yeah, it's Rico Payton, man. I think he had a great game. He missed that tackle. He got thrown at 6 times, I think, gave up 1 reception, was breaking everything up. I mean, I think as far as anybody, like, I don't think Rico Payton has any path to making the team, but practice squad, like, he definitely put himself on the list of candidates.
I think he was way behind other guys going into the game, too, so good for him.
I think he's, I mean, Mac McCain and all them guys, like, he's definitely ahead of all them other guys now, for sure, if he wasn't before, but I think he's definitely one there. And then the other two, you know, I think Nathan Shepard had a great game. I think he stood out probably more than anybody on that, like, first wave of defense to me as far as how he played. And I put Brian Brzee up there too.
Yeah. Chase, now look, I did point out, and I mean, I think everybody saw it, but tried to go back through all those snaps and watch the replays since I had the clicker in front of me. And Chase Young gets credit for that Brzee sack. So that was nice to see. That was another guy we had been talking about in camp. And the way they described it. Okay, even if he's a guy who's never had more than 7.5 sacks. Well, if he's disruptive,
right,
and he makes a quarterback move off his spot and Brian Brzee finishes it, that works too.
Look, mine has to go to the majority of the D-line because Granderson was hitting. Chase Young, you got a chance to really see that stuff that he did in practice was real because he was able to do it in the game. Brzee, like you just pointed out, he looked good. Shep looked good. Like, the D-line was they were looking.
Cam Jordan had a pressure.
Cam Jordan, yeah, all of them. They were looking pretty good on run and pass play. Now, granted, Kyler Murray wasn't playing. We got to put that in there. Kyler Murray wasn't playing, but against that offensive line, the defense was looking really well.
Yeah, defense looked really good. Really, really good. You wanted him to against Clayton Tune and whoever else, Desmond Ridder and then Clayton Tune. But they did, and it got masked and everything else we're talking about. So they deserve some credit for a good performance.
I thought Shamar John Charles played good. I think he's probably comfortably ahead of right at this point as far as that goes. I thought Alontae Taylor played pretty good in this game. I thought Kool-Aid McKinstry probably was down a little bit in this
those
one.
crossing routes.
Yeah.
It felt like they would have hit 10 crossing routes in front of him if he never figured out how to cover those.
But the one, the more, and he'll clean this up, I'm sure, but like he got lost in coverage on one and let a guy go out to the sideline. I didn't play his zone right. So there were a handful of things that I thought could have got cleaned up there. But I think for, as far as that battle goes, I think this was another win for Alontae. I wouldn't even classify that as a competition at this point.
Quick aside on McKinstry. This is, you have the analytical eye when you study film and you watch these practices and do the breakdown every day. I swear I have written on my notebooks every day, blank made great contested catch versus tight coverage by McKinstry. Blank made great contested catch versus tight coverage by McKinstry. I feel like I saw it in the game too. Guys are catching the ball. McKinstry's right there. Like, is that a plus? Is that a minus? Is that somewhere in between? Is it just getting a hand up? Like, he is not getting beat, but guys are winning catches against him. Have you noticed that, or am I making that up with a small sample size?
Look, he had one yesterday. It was one of those back of the end zone. A.T. Perry looked like he made an incredible play, and McKinstry knocked it out. So it might just be something with just playing someone's hands a little bit better, or something like that, and that can come with a little bit of time or whatever. I do think though that like the caveat here is that he's playing a new position. Yep. So I mean, some of the stuff he's given up, he's gonna have to learn. But yeah, I do think that I thought that was going to be a tighter battle coming into camp, and it just really really hasn't been one.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting a lot of work on the outside. So that'll go into our next segment presented by Hard Hot Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Look, we talked about the offense, we talked about the defense. Let's see who got lost in between there. Let's hit a quick 2-minute drill. Who else stood out? I'll go first, and I'm probably going to take y'all answer. A.T. Perry.
Yeah.
A.T. Perry.
He deserved 45 minutes into the show. He deserved a little more love because he was had to have a guy.
Yeah, he did. We talked during the week about how he was, flying low and kept on going lower and lower and lower, but he turned around towards the end of the week, and then he translated that into the game of being able to make those catches and become a reliable target for Rattler and Haener throughout the time. Even being able to draw the PI, Nick had pointed it out, like that was good. That was good across the board with Rattler and him. So who else do y'all have?
Well, Kyle Hergel played really good, so that was another positive step for him. If he keeps going the way he's going, like at some point he might get snaps this year the way he's going. And then my other guy, I think Roderick Teamer is probably the guy that, as far as the other safeties, I think he played pretty good on defense.
I gotta credit Charlie Smith here. Like, I don't know that he did anything to help his case, especially since Blake Grupe made both of his short field goals that he should have made or whatever. But what a cool story. I mean, Charlie Smith learned how to kick a football a year ago, and then the first time he ever gets to actually attempt an 11-on-11 kick in the NFL, he's making a game winner in a preseason game. That was a special moment. I don't know what's going to happen with both those battles. Hayball kicked the crap out of the ball, but distance isn't everything. They've got to be predictable. I think kicker and punter remain wide open after the first game. Slight edge. The one guy I give a slight edge to is Grupe over Smith, but that was clutch. People notice things like that.
Nah, in pregame, Charlie was booting.
You guys said 66.
Yeah, booting him. But I talked to him after, and I asked him about if his family and stuff was watching. He was like, "Man, it's 4:00 at home." So I didn't know if they got a chance to see it live, but he did say that he was very excited that his first kick was a game winner. He said Blake actually talked to him about it before it happened. I think he said Blake said his first kick was one against Kansas City last year in the preseason game. So it's good that they're, helping each other out in that sense. Let's get into our last segment, the Martin's question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked Barrel Select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question is, has Isaiah Foskey only looked good in camp because of the competition?
Yeah, I guess we could have put him in the 2-minute drill. We listed 3 guys who stood out for the positive, and did we get to everyone who stood out for the negative? Really disappointing for Foskey. I think he led the entire team in snaps, the entire game in snaps. Was it 54 snaps for Foskey? And he was 55. Not showing up. He was not showing up. Talk about a guy who's been doing it in camp. I swear he's been doing it in camp. Last year was different. Last year he wasn't doing it in camp, and he wasn't doing it in games. This isn't he only does it in practice guy. He has been doing it in practice, in OTAs and camp. But it's a good question because maybe it is because of the competition, because he looked lost out there. He looked unsure of himself. I don't know. I don't know. It's concerning. It's concerning that whether he'll be a part of the mix or not. I'm not going to let one game change my opinion about the strides he's making this year, but it does start to make you think maybe competition has something to do with why he's looked good this year.
Yeah, doing it too, I think that's relative to where he was last year. There's times you notice him now positively. I don't know that you notice him Chase Young or
you don't notice anyone like
you don't notice him like Peyton Turner. You don't notice him like Brian Brzee or Willie Gay or Pete Werner. But you notice him. He makes you see. It's like, oh, he's around the quarterback. And it was like, wow, Foskey never did anything before. So I think we got the videos of the one-on-ones. There's a couple you can go watch him. He wins some, but then he loses some really bad. So I think it's still been very up and down. And I think times where he can just maybe have an opportunity to just use his speed and athleticism, where he doesn't really have to construct a plan, is when we usually see him. But this was rough. This was his worst case scenario for his first game, barring injury. 55 snaps. I don't think of pressure. It's just. That's not.
He didn't appear
good.
On the stat
Run
sheet.
Defense was a mess. It was not good. It was not a good game for him.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yep.
Got to become a factor. Big factor in your being a fan of the Saints is signing up to NewOrleans.Football. Make sure that you do that, because as the preseason continues, we'll be here analyzing everything that the Saints do. We appreciate y'all who are live. Stick around for overtime. And for those who aren't, like I just said, make sure you're signing up. Catch you next time.